Jai Saparika Shri Guru Gaur Chandraju Ki Jai. Jai Shri Giraj Govardhanju Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhansa Paripraśnena Asta Terasata Shri Śrīman Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhansa Paripraśnena Asta Terasata Shri Śrīman Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Hari Bol. Jai, welcome to Śrī Chaitanya Saraswat. My mission morning class. Hari Bol Dandavad. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jata Parakamalam Shri Gurung Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragu Natam Vitangstam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitangscha Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam. Hari Om. Jai reading Śrī Chaitanya Charitamrita. We're continuing the Antya Lila. This is volume 2 and chapter number 19. The Lord's inconceivable behavior. Jai Jai Śrī Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Bhaktivinoda. Haribo. Jai Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Ki Jai. Srila Om Vishnupad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Okay. Going back a couple of verses. In this state of madness, Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mind was unsteady. Whatever he said or did was all symptomatic of madness. Then the next verse. When submissive Vidura, the resting place of the legs of Lord Krishna, had thus spoken to Maitreya, Maitreya began speaking, his hair standing on end due to transcendental pleasure of discussing topics concerning Lord Krishna. Shankara Karena Prabhura Pada Samvahana Gumanya Padena Taiche Karena Shayana. Shankar massaged the legs of Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but while massaging he would fall asleep and thus lie down. Ugada Ange Padiya Shankara Nidrayai Prabhu Uti Apana Kanta Tahare Jadai. He would lie asleep without a covering on his body, and Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would get up and wrap him with his own quilt. Nirantara Gumaya Shankara Sikra Chaitanya Pashipada Chapikare Ratri Jagarana. Shankar Pandit would always fall asleep, but he would quickly awaken, sit up, and again begin massaging the legs of Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In this way, he would stay awake the entire night. Tada bhaye narena prabhu bahire jaite Tarabaye narena bitye mukabjagashite. Out of fear of Shankar, Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would neither leave his room nor rub his lotus-like face against the wall. This is the fear of affection, the fear that occurs in affection. Elila Mahaprabhura Raghunatha Das Gauranga Stava Kalpa Vrikshe Kariyache Prakash. This pastime of Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has been described very nicely by Raghunath Das Goswami in his book known as Gauranga Stava Kalpa Vriksha. Very beautiful. Svakiyasya pranar buddha sadrisha gostasya viharat pralapan udmada satatamati kurvam vikaladi dadat bitao sasvad vadanna viduga shena rudiram kshattotam gorango hridaya udayan mammadayati. Because of separation from his many friends in Vrindavan, who were like his own life, Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke like a madman. His intelligence was transformed. Day and night he rubbed his moon-like face against the walls, and blood flowed from the injuries. May that Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rise in my heart and make me mad with love. E Mata Mahaprabhu Ratre Divase Prema Sindhu Magna Rahe Kabhu Dube Base. In this way, Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stayed immersed day and night in an ocean of ecstatic love for Krishna. Sometimes he was submerged, and sometimes he floated. Akakale Vaishakera Purnamasi Dine Ratrikale Mahaprabhu Chalila Udyane. One full moon night in the month of Vaishaka, April-May, Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to a garden. Jagannatha Vallabha Nama Udyana Pradane Pravesha Karila Prabhu Lanya Bhaktagane. The Lord, along with his devotees, entered one of the nicest gardens called Jagannath Vallabha. Prapulita Vrikshabali Jaina Vrindavana Shuka Shari Pika Bringa Kare Alapana. In the garden were fully blossomed trees and creepers exactly like those in Vrindavan. Bumblebees and birds like Shuka and Shari and Pika talked with one another. Pushpaganda Lanyavahe Malaya Pavana Guruhanya Taru Lataya Shikaya Nachana. The mild breeze was blowing, carrying the fragrance of aromatic flowers. The breeze had become a guru and was teaching all the trees and creepers how to dance. Purna Chanda Chandrakaya Parama Ujjvala Tarulatadi Jyotsnyaya Kare Jalamala. Brightly illuminated by the full moon, the trees and creepers glittered in the light. Chaya Ritugana Yaha Vashanta Pradana Deki Anandita Haila Gaura Bhagavan. The 6 seasons, especially spring, seemed present here. The 6 seasons, especially spring, seemed present here. Seeing the garden, Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was very happy. Lalita Lavangalata Pada Gauyanya Nrichakari Bulena Prabhuni Jaganalanya. In this atmosphere, the Lord had his associates sing the verse from the Gita Govinda beginning with the words Lalita Lavangalata as he danced and wandered about them. Prati Vriksha Bali Aiche Brahmite Brahmite Ashokera Tale Krishna Dekena Achambite. As he thus wandered around every tree and creeper, he he came beneath an ashok tree and suddenly saw Lord Krishna. Krishna deki Mahaprabhu danya chalila, age deki hashi Krishna antardana haila. When he saw Krishna, Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began running very swiftly, but Krishna smiled and disappeared. Age paila Krishna tare punaharanya, bhumite padila Prabhu murchita hanya. Having gotten Krishna and then lost him, Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fell onto the ground unconscious. Krishnera Shri Anga Gande Bariche Ujjane Se Ganda Panya Prabhu Haila Achetane. The entire garden was filled with the scent of Lord Krishna's transcendental body. When Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu smelt it, he fell unconscious at once. Nirantara Nashaya Pashe Krishna Parimala Ganda Asvadite Prabhu Haila Pagala. But the scent of Krishna's body incessantly entered his nostrils, and the Lord became mad to relish it. Krishna Ganda Lubda Radha Shakire Jay Kahila Se Shloka Padi Prabhu Artha Karila. Srimati Radharani once spoke a verse to her gopi friends, describing how she hankers for the transcendental scent of Krishna's body. Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recited that same verse and made its meaning clear. Kuranga mada jidvapu parimalormi krishtangana swakanga nalinakshe shasi jutabja ganda prata Madenduvara Chandanu Guru Shagandhi Chacharchita Seme Madana Mohana Shakitanoti Nasha. The scent of Krishna's transcendental body surpasses the aroma of musk and attracts the minds of all women. The 8 lotus-like parts of his body distribute the fragrance of lotuses mixed with that of camphor. His body is anointed with aromatic substances like musk, camphor, sandalwood, and aguru. Oh, my dear friend, that personality of Godhead, also known as the enchanter of Cupid, always increases the desire of my nostrils. This verse is found in the Govinda Lilamrita. Kasturika Nilotpala Taraje Parimala Tahajini Krishna Angagan. Kasturika Nilotpala Taraje Parimala Tahajini Krishna Angaganda Vyape Chauda Bhuvane Kare Sarva Akarshane Nariganera Anki Kare Anda. The scent of Krishna's body surpasses the fragrances of musk and the bluish lotus flower. Spreading throughout the 14 worlds, it attracts everyone and makes the eyes of all women blind. The scent of Krishna's body surpasses the fragrances of musk and the bluish lotus flower. Spreading throughout the 14 worlds, it attracts everyone and makes the eyes of all women blind. Shakihe Krishna Ganda Jagat Mataya Narirana Sate Pashe Sarvakala Itaha Vaise Krishna Pasha Darilanya Jai. My dear friend, the scent of Krishna's body enchants the entire world. It especially enters the nostrils of women and remains seated there. Thus it captures them and forcibly brings them to Krishna. My dear friend, the scent of Krishna's body enchants the entire world. It especially enters the nostrils of women and remains seated there. Thus it captures them and forcibly brings them to Krishna. Netranabi Vandana Kara Juga Charana Eyasta Padma Krishna Ange Karpura Lipta Kamala Tara Jaiche Parimala Seganda Asta Padma Shange. Krishna's eyes, navel and face, hands and feet are like 8 lotus flowers on his body. From those 8 lotuses emanates a fragrance like a mixture of camphor and lotus. That is the scent associated with his body. Hama kilita chandana tahakari garshana Taheya Guru Kunkuma Kasturi Karpura Sane Char Ange Purva Ange Raganda Sange Militare Jena Kaila Churi. When sandalwood pulp is mixed with aguru, kumkum, musk, and camphor, and spread on Krishna's body, it combines with Krishna's own original bodily perfume and seems to cover it. When sandalwood pulp is mixed with aguru, kumkum, musk, and camphor and spread on Krishna's body, it combines with Krishna's own original bodily perfume and seems to cover it. In another version, the last line of this verse reads, Kama Devera Mana Kaila Churi. This means the scent of all these substances mixes with the previous scent of Krishna's body and steals away the mind of Cupid. So the significance of mentioning Cupid, well, Cupid is a person. He's the personification of mundane lust. And very attractive, as everyone knows, in the mundane plane. But millions of Cupids are fainting in front of Krishna. So, in another version of this verse, it is saying that all of these substances combined, the natural fragrance of the Lord's divine form, and all these other very auspicious substances are mixed, and the mind of Cupid is stolen away. Hare narira tanumana nashakare guranana kashaya nivi chutaya keshabanda karya age bauri nachaya jagatanari hena dakatiya krishnanga ganda. The scent of Krishna's transcendental body is so attractive that it enchants the bodies and minds of all women. Of course, this women means those in that transcendental relationship. And otherwise, with these senses, these senses are like holes in a piece of wood. They can't perceive that transcendental fragrance. It bewilders their nostrils, loosens their belts and hair, and makes them mad women. All the women of the world come under its influence, and therefore the scent of Krishna's body is like a plunderer. Se gandavasha nasha shadakare gandera asha kabhupaya kabunahi pai paile pia peta bare pina pina tabukare napaile trishnaya marijai. Falling completely under its influence, the nostrils yearn for it continuously, although sometimes they obtain it and sometimes not. When they do, they drink their fill, though they still want more and more. But if they don't, out of thirst, they die. So the transcendental form of these, those great damsels, those wonderful transcendental personality of Vrindavan, everything about them is completely, inconceivably fine. It's not like these bodies at all. Even the bodies of the demigods are so much more subtle than the gross bodies of those on earth. And what to speak of the forms of the inhabitants of Vaikuntha, and even more so Ayodhya, Dwarka, and general Mathura, than coming to Vrindavan. And what to speak of the Braja Gopis. Their nostrils, like our nostrils, this is holes here that we have to bring air in to survive, and so on, like that. But this is not like that. This is so fine. We can never conceive of it. All of the parts of the divine form of those personalities in Vrindavan, they are all expressions of their love for Krishna. Nothing else. There's nothing outside of that. They're saying the nostrils obtain it and sometimes not, this divine scent of Krishna's body. But if they do get that scent, then they want more. And if they don't, then they simply die. These are all inconceivable things. Madana Mohananata Pashari Ganderahata Chagannari Graha Kelobai Bina Mulye Deya Ganda Ganda Diya Kare Anda Kara Jaite Patanahi Pai. The dramatic actor Madan Mohan has opened a shop of scents that attract the women of the world to be his customers. He delivers the scents freely, but they make the women all so blind they cannot find the path returning home. E mata gora hari gande kaila mani churi bringa praya iti uttidai yaya vrikshalata pashe Krishna's pure se yase Krishna napaya ganda matra pai. Śrī Chaitanya Mahāprabhu, his mind thus stolen by the scent of Krishna's body, ran here and there like a bumblebee. He ran to the trees and plants, hoping that Lord Krishna would appear, but instead he found only that scent. Swarupa Ramananda Gai Prabhu Nache Shukapai Emate Pratakala Haila Swarup Ramananda Rai Karinana Upai Mahaprabhu Rabhya Puspurti Kaila. Both Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Rai sang to the Lord, who danced and enjoyed happiness until the morning arrived. Then the Lord's two associates devised a plan to bring him to external consciousness. Matre Bhakti Pralapana Bitye Mukhagarshana Krishna Ganda Spurtye Divya Nritya E Chari Lila Bede Kaila E Parichede Krishna Dasa Rupa Gosai Britya. Thus I, Krishna Das, the servant of Srila Rupa Goswami, have sung the four divisions of the Lord's pastimes in this chapter. The Lord's devotion to his mother, his words of madness, his rubbing his face against the walls at night, and his dancing at the appearance of Lord Krishna's fragrance. Purport. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says that he has been able to describe these four pastimes of Śrī Chaitanya Mahāprabhu by the blessings of Srila Rupa Goswami. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami was not actually a direct disciple of Srila Rupa Goswami, but he followed the instructions given by Srila Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He therefore acted according to the directions of Rupa Goswami and prayed in every chapter for his mercy. Ehimata Mahaprabhu Panya Chaitanya Snanakari Kaila Jagannatha Darshana. Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned to external consciousness. He then bathed and went to see Lord Jagannath. Aulokika Krishna Lila Divya Shakti Tar Tarkera Gochara Nahed Charitra Jahar. The pastimes of Lord Krishna are uncommonly full of transcendental potency. It is a characteristic of Srila Gurudev or Srila Prabhupada about certain things. They would say it is a chitya. I mean, it is a hokshaja. It is not possible to understand everything. It doesn't fall into that category. It's not like later on, by my intelligence, by more experience, I'm going to understand things. These things are falling beyond this type of intelligence. These are pastimes. So we are warned not to try to cram everything into our understanding. But what we have been given and what has been explained to us, then we know this is something I am to try to understand. And then let that purified intelligence and purified, everything, our ears, mind, and everything, where that will go or what will happen as a result of that, we don't know that. Any question? E prema sadajage jahara antare panditeha tara chesta bujite napare. When transcendental love of Krishna awakens in someone's heart, even a learned scholar cannot comprehend his activities. When transcendental love of Krishna awakens in someone's heart, even a learned scholar cannot comprehend his activities. Danyasyayam nava prema yasyon milati chaitasi antarvani birapyasya mudrashustu subdurgama. The activities and symptoms of that exalted personality in whose heart love of Godhead has awakened cannot be understood even by the most learned scholar. This is a verse from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So even those great devotees in whose heart pure love of Krishna has awakened, even their activities we cannot understand. What to speak of the activities of the Lord Himself? Well, they're both on the same plane. Those whose very life is the Lord, their activities are being dictated by that Lord, who is completely ad hoc saja. He's not following within the jurisdiction of the logic which leads us to be able to function in the mundane plane on the gross or subtle level. So we read just now in this verse about Uddhava. Oh, excuse me. The submissive. Not Uddhava, Vidura. When submissive Vidura, the resting place of the legs of Lord Krishna, had thus spoken to Maitreya, Maitreya began speaking, his hair standing on end due to the transcendental pleasure of discussing topics concerning Lord Krishna. So the Lord would rest his legs on Vidura. And this is very sweet because this word submissive, Guru Maharaj says that Tadvidi Praṇipātena Paripraśnena Sevayā. these three qualities are to be very strongly cultivated. That when we have to understand that we are asking questions about something that we may be completely beyond any ability of ours to catch the meaning. So it's a really important thing to meditate upon, this submission. But there's a certain level where we are encouraged to use our intelligence to understand, for example, in the beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita, to use your intelligence, Krishna Das Kaviraj said, to understand the mercy of Mahaprabhu. So this Sumedasa, it is purified intelligence and can catch. But don't forget that we are trying to be brought in the direction of something which is really not catchable. But through the intelligence one can begin to understand the necessity of that kind of submission and that proper approach to that plane. So everything is very lovely. Jai Shri Krishna Das Kaviraj Ki Jai. Srila Om Vishnupad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Śrī Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. Jai. Now continuing with Śrī Śrī Upadeśāmṛta. Given to us by Srila Rupa Goswami himself for our practice and upliftment. And it's very good, especially, each one of us has, I don't know anyone's particular struggle with any one of these urges, but, we are really being battered around by them. And it's very difficult for us to understand, how not to be. But we are going to keep surrendering. It's only through surrender, actually, that these vagams can go. It's not possible for us to be freed from them. So if we're telling some kind of lie, and then somebody notices that, like a child. A child puts a bag over his head and he thinks that nobody can see him. Or he closes his eyes and he thinks no one can see me. You notice that about children? So now you can't see me. But later on, an adult may also act like that. And it's untruthfulness. But there is untruthfulness is part of this mundane plane. And when somebody notices we're being untruthful and says something, we will become angry as if we're defending truth. And this is the habit of this plane. I'm actually misrepresenting things. And I don't want anyone to notice, or I will become very angry. This is the way of this world. So that is the impulse of Krodh. We are basically dishonest, and when it is found out, or when the environment comes to oppose that, then we become enraged. I once was living with a family, and there was one child there who was always telling lies. But she was so good at it in her own mind that she completely forgot she was lying. And then she would become so upset, as though she were defending virtue itself if she was found out. And it is true that we invest so much in our dishonest behavior that we feel morally offended if it's, pointed out. Anyway, these are so many interesting and funny things, and we can notice these things in ourselves. We've got this big shroud around us trying to, manipulate this mundane plane for our own selves. And if anything comes to point out the fact that we're doing that, we become furious. So I'm looking at this Krodavegam, and I think that it's an interesting discussion, don't you? Like if we have some experience of because really we should learn how to laugh at ourselves. And, any experience in these different things, we don't want too much to do. But I mean, the Krodavegam, I think, is really, it's just a very interesting thing. Some children are born furious. They're just angry from birth. And then, the parent is trying to help the child to see things from a different angle of vision. That everything is not something to become furious about, but to try to give and to tolerate. So many hard lessons, but what a relief to learn them by the grace of the Lord. Okay, Jai, let's we could chant these. Vacho vegam manasa kroda vegam jiva vegam udaropasta vegam etan veganyo vishaheta dira sarvam apimam pritivim sasisyat atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha janasangascha lolyam cha Sadbir Bhakti Binashati Vitsahan Nischayadharyat Tat Karma Pravartanat Sangatyaga Sato Vritte Sadbir Bhakti Prasidyati. I almost said it again. Tadati Pratigrahnati Guhyam Makyati Prichati Bhungte bojayate chaiva sadvidim vidham pritilakshanam Krishneti asya giritam manasadriyeta dikshasti che pranati vischa bhajantamisham shushushaya bhajana vigyam ananyamanya Nindadi sunya hritamipshita sangalabdya Tristai svabhava janite papushascha doshe Na prakritatvam iha bhakta janasya pasyet Gangambasam na kalu budbuddha pena panke Brahmadravatvam apagachati niradharmai Syat Krishna nama charitadi sitapya vidya pito patapta rasanasya narochikanu kinvadaram anudinam kalu saiva jushta swadvikramad bhavati tadgara mulahantri Tannama rupa charitari sukirtananu Smrityo Smrityo kramena rasana manasi niyojya Tishtan bhajetad jaganugami Kalam nayeda kilam ityupadeshasaram Vaikuntajjanito varamadupuri excuse me Vaikuntajjanito varamadupuri tatrapi rasotsavat Vrindaranyamudarapani ramanat tatrapi govardhana excuse me I'm sorry Radha kundamihapi gokulapate premamrita plavanat kuryadasya birajato giritate sevam vivekina kaha And now verse 10. Kamibhya parito hare priyataya vyaktimya yogyaninas tebhyo gyani vimukta bhakti parama premaika nishtastata tebhyasta pashupala pankaja dushastabhyopi saradika preshta tadvariyam tadiya sharasitam nashraye kakriti. More dear to Krishna in all respects. Oh, I'm going to read this from the book. I like this translation a little bit better. Jnanis are known to be more dear in all respects to Krishna than karmis. Devotees completely free from jnana are more dear than jnanis. And devotees fixed exclusively in prema are more dear than devotees completely free from jnana. Jai Shri Guru Gaurachandra Jai Giri Ki Jai. The lotus-eyed gopis are more dear than they are, and Sri Radhika is even more dear than the other gopis. This lake of hers is similarly dear to Krishna. Would any fortunate soul not take shelter there? And this is the same theme as Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj is bringing now. That this intelligence, even those great souls who are fully surrendered to Krishna, are acting 100% under the impulse of divine, Guru Maharaj calls intuition. Their activities are very difficult to follow. Those who are in that position and who have been given the service by the Lord to be acharya, their activities are a little more regulated because of having to show an example to those who are following some vidhi for their progress. Are you following, Prabhu? And so they are acting on the plane of acharya, or in the service as an acharya, and showing some regulation and acting in such a way as to show an example for those of us who are following some vidhi for our progress. But otherwise, those souls who appear in this world who have no job to be guru, they can act in any way. We cannot conceive of their activities. It's all on a higher plane. So, we cannot understand what you mean by Jnana Shunya Bhakti. That is the highest? We cannot follow this. How is it possible? So, Srila Guru Maharaj, Jai Srila Guru Maharaj Ki Jai. Srila Guru Maharaj is explaining here that those who are following the path of knowledge, they cannot conceive. How do you give up knowledge? That seems mad. It is possible, and we should give up hope in our defective self-calculation. That is vulnerable, of course. And this fine discernment here. Rather, we shall throw ourselves at the disposal and decision of the supreme invulnerable substance. We are vulnerable. Any calculation on our part is definitely vulnerable. So we will throw ourselves at the disposal of the invulnerable substance. Do you follow? That is the highest attainment of living. To live in the land of mercy, affection, and love. That is beauty. That is charm. The land where the wholesale sacrificed souls live. We are set self-forgetful there, in the plane of surrender. And that is the highest plane of our life. This was announced by Mahaprabhu as Jnana Shunya Bhakti, being at the disposal of the invulnerable plane. They're not, knowledge doesn't come into play there. That was announced. How can we leave Gyan or light? Without light, how can we see or move? It seems impossible. Yet we are told that Jnana Shunya Bhakti is the highest position we can ever aspire for or aspire after. In that plane, everything is automatic, like a computer. Everything is being done mechanically, but it is living and affectionate, not like a material machine, a dead thing. Everything is going on, and we are to participate in that. It is already going on. We're not the doers making things, movers and shakers, and getting a slap. There, everything is going on by the movement of Yoga Maya, according to the will of the Lord. And we are to participate in that. That is Leela. I mean, we're not thinking that we're in divine Leela, but we are to participate in the Lord's will in this plane also, and come to the plane of surrender. There we will find that vitality grows in its very highest form. It is not an abode of dead persons. Rather, there we find the fullest play. Full. Why full? Krishna is Krishna there. He's reckless. He's the autocrat. He's the enjoyer. Everything is in its fullest manifested play in that plane. Every part, everything is encouraged by the sweetness, the ananda, which takes the lead in the movement there. Everything is impelled by sweetness. And what is impelling us now? Vacho vegam manasakra. The opposite of sweetness. The whips of the urges. So Mahaprabhu says, don't bother yourself with inquiry based on knowledge or with trying to become a master, as in the present scientific civilization. The karmis want to bring everything under their control. They want to become the greatest controllers. And the jnanis want to know everything. What is in every nook and corner? But there is no necessity for that or real charm in that. What's charming there? What's melting the heart? Ebena Bajile Jashoda Sutta, what happens? What happens? Ebena Bajile Jashoda Sutta, Chara me podi belaje. If we do not come under the influence of the sweet plane of divinity, of divine service to the Lord in full surrender, then what is the result of my life, of my whole life? Great sorrow at the time of death. That's the sum total. And the jnanis want to know everything, what is in every nook and corner. But there is no necessity for that or real charm in that. Only heartfelt service of the most loving Lord is necessary. So Mahaprabhu eliminated the karmis and jnanis and proclaimed jnana shunya bhakti. So this is referring again to the Ramananda Samvad. Eho bahya. Eho bahya. This is external, that's external. And then when Ramananda Rai came to the jnana shunya bhakti, jnana prayasama udapashana mantahe, then Mahaprabhu said, okay, now we have arrived. We have arrived on the transcendental plane. Is there any question about any of that? Do you have any question? It is a peculiar thing. In Jnana Shunya Bhakti, we find no inquiry and no doubt. Knowledge is necessary to satisfy and remove doubt. And doubt is an enemy to straight service. So this should be left aside. Eventually, as we go, this kind of thing will be left aside. Faith should guide us to where all are protected. Did you hear that? Faith should guide us to where all are protected. Under the protection of faith, we shall live and move. Here we're like urchins. We're like orphans, street urchins. No guardian, no real home. Just living in the streets of the mean streets of exploitation and digging in the garbage pails of the objects of the senses and always afraid. So we should go to the plane of faith. Faith should guide us to where all are protected. There is no enemy. Under the protection of faith, we shall live and move. We shall be optimistic. Faith is optimistic, while knowledge is suspicious. So what does optimistic mean? You know that word?
Optimistic. Hoping for the best.
Huh?
Hoping for the best.
Yeah, it's seeing that things are good. It is good. That is optimism. An optimist is seeing the good. And a pessimist is always seeing the bad. Well, this and that, and they're all this and that and that. They don't mean, he's suspicious. And knowledge is tinged, knowledge meaning I am going to know everything, not divine knowledge that is descending knowledge. The Aroha Panta is based on suspicion. I'm not so sure about that. But what is coming in the plane of faith, there is all optimism. Optimism not as a psychological condition, but optimism as a vision. Faith means vision. It means seeing, it is all right. It is all good. And seeing that, he is a wise person. Not a suspicious person. Like a snake. If you see a snake, what does the snake do? It bites everything that moves around it. It thinks, whatever that is, it is my enemy. He's seeing enemies everywhere. Wrong things. It is all wrong, 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 wrong. I have to go. I have to leave. This is bad. This is all bad. That is suspiciousness. We shall be optimistic. Faith is optimistic, while knowledge is suspicious. It is based on apprehension, meaning fear, with skepticism in the background. I'm skeptic. I don't trust this. I don't I don't think so. Faith is natural. Knowledge is indirect, and faith is direct. Knowledge and inquiry are the we don't like this sense of necessity to verify faith. It's actually, if somebody comes challenging about our guru, we feel very unhappy to defend what is naturally wonderful, good in every way, and divine. To defend an innocent person is a terrible task, in a sense, because you have to hear what is suspicious about that person. So this is not a nice thing. We don't like this sense of necessity to verify faith. Faith is the land of full beauty, trust, innocence, divine service. We want to be born and die in the land of faith, where no gentleman ever deceives anyone. What is the land of faith? Where do we put our faith? In the plane where no gentleman ever deceives anyone. No one is selfish. We don't want to live in the plane of skepticism, doubt, inquiry, and satisfaction based on only these. That is all calculation. Faith is the normal tendency, and in such normal tendency, there is no deceit. We want to live in that land where even in dreams, deception is impossible. Where deception and thus inquiry, knowledge, verification, all these things are absent. We want to live in that plane where everything is automatic. And that is Jnana Sunya Bhakti. Wow, it's so wonderful to hear this. We want to live in that plane where everything is automatic. I mean, to give a very gross example. You are born and you have a very good, kind, affectionate mother. And then someone may come and say, well, I don't know. What does she do? Where was she born? What does she do when this happens? What does she do when that happens? People won't want to talk to that person. Right? So we don't want to live in that plane where what is naturally good and unmotivatedly affection. Of course, this is a mundane example, because that is also not perfect. But it will give us some reference. What is automatic, what is good, what is spontaneous, what is sweetness, what is actual sincerity and affection. That should never be questioned. That does not come under the plane of Gyan. There is no room for suspicion there. So that must be left behind. That must be. All suspicion must be cleared in the heart. And the inquiry will only be Paripraśnena, Praṇipātena, Paripraśnena, and Sevayā. What will be my service? Those are the things we're looking for. Hariye, Jai Śrī Śrī Upadeśāmṛta ki Jai. Jai Srila Rupa Goswami ki Jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Rakha Sri Radhe Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Hey Chai Gosai Jabe Braje Koilavas Radha Krishna Nitya Leela Korila Prakash Anande Bolo Hari Vaj Vrindavan Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majayaman Shri Guru Vaishnava Pada Padma Koriya Hari Nam Sankirtana Kohe Narottama Das Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Jai Saparika Shri Shri Guru Gaur Chandraju Ki Jai Shri Giraj Govardhanju Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupai Paramahansa Paripraśnena Astater Sata Shri Śrīman Srila Bhakti Sundar Govindadev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupai Paramahansa Paripraśnena Astater Sata Shri Śrīman Srila Bhakti Rakha Shri Dardev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga Ki Jai Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Acharya Vrinda Ki Jai Sannyasi Vrinda Ki Jai Nam Acharya Shri Laharidas Thakur Ki Jai Shri Narottam Shamananda Srinivas Thakur Prabhu Ki Jai Sadgoswami Prabhu Ki Jai Saparshad Śrīman Mahāprabhu Ki Jai Saparshad Shri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai Jai Shri Shri Guru Gaurachandra Giraju Ki Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mission Ki Jai Kol Kartal Ki Jai Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Srimati Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Vaishnava Mandala Ki Jai Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Nittai Gaur Premanandi Haribo Jai Jai Gurudev Ki Jai